Hey everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Baylen Out Loud. Today is a big day. Like really big. I'm about to meet Colin's parents for the first time ever. And if you know me, you know that meeting someone new can already feel like climbing Mount Everest. But throw in my Tourette syndrome, and it feels more like trying to climb Mount Everest while juggling flaming swords. But seriously, this moment has been weighing on me because I want them to see who I really am, not just through the lens of my tics or how society might stereotype me. So buckle up, because we're diving deep into what happens when love meets family dynamics, and maybe even some unexpected challenges along the way. For those of you who don't know, Colin and I have been dating for almost 2 years now. He's amazing. He gets me, supports me, and loves me exactly as I am. But let's face it, no matter how great your relationship is, meeting the parents is always nerve-wracking, especially when you're worried they might not fully understand something as personal and misunderstood as Tourette syndrome. Tourette isn't just about shouting random words, it's so much more complex than that. It affects everything from how I move to how I process emotions. Some days are easier than others, but it's always there. I've had conversations with Colin about his parents before, and he says they're open-minded people. But still, what if they're unsure? What if they think I'm too different for him? Those thoughts keep swirling around in my head. You got this, okay? They're going to love you. So, Baylen, Colin mentioned that you have Tourette syndrome. Can you tell us a little bit about how that impacts your life? Of course. Well, Tourette syndrome means that sometimes my body does things involuntarily. Things like twitching, blinking, or making sounds. It's not something I can control, but it's also not something that defines me entirely. I live a pretty normal life. It's just different sometimes. And honestly, Baylen handles it with such grace. She inspires me every single day. That must take a lot of strength. Have you faced any challenges because of it? Definitely. People often misunderstand what Tourette syndrome is. They assume it's only about blurting out swear words or being disruptive, which isn't true for most of us. Sometimes, strangers stare or make comments, and that can be tough. But I've learned to focus on the positives and surround myself with supportive people like Colin. I appreciate your honesty, Baylen. It sounds like you've been through a lot, and I respect how you handle it. On time, I was giving a presentation at school, and right in the middle of it, I started hiccuping uncontrollably. My teacher didn't know whether to laugh or call an ambulance. Well, that went better than I expected. At first, I was terrified. I thought they'd judge me or treat me differently because of my Tourette's. But instead, they asked thoughtful questions and listened to my answers. It reminded me that fear often comes from assuming the worst, but sometimes people surprise you. Meeting Colin's parents wasn't perfect, and it probably never will be. But it taught me that vulnerability can lead to connection. By sharing my story openly, I gave them a chance to understand me. And hopefully, they saw that I'm not so different after all. Relieved, happy, ready for whatever comes next. To anyone watching who's nervous about introducing themselves to someone new, whether it's a partner's family or anyone else, remember this: you are enough, exactly as you are. Don't let fear hold you back from showing the world your true self. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Love stories have always captivated us. Those moments that make our hearts race, bring tears to our eyes, or leave us smiling for days. And today, we're diving into one of the most heartwarming love stories you'll ever hear. This is about Baylen Dupree a woman whose life changed forever when her boyfriend pulled off the surprise a lifetime. I never thought this would happen to me. Not like this anyway. It was completely unexpected, but also perfect. The screen fades to black and bold white text appears. Baylen Dupree's boyfriend shocks her with huge proposal. To understand why this proposal was so special, let's first get to know Baylen Dupree. Born and raised in a small town, Baylen grew up surrounded by family values and a deep appreciation for meaningful connections. She's known for her infectious laugh, kind heart, and adventurous spirit. I've always been someone who believes in soulmates, not just romantic ones, but people who truly get me. My friends call me hopeless because I'm such a believer in true love. But honestly, after everything I've been through, I think it makes sense. Baylen isn't just your average girl next door type. She's built a career helping others as a counselor, dedicating her life to guiding people through their toughest moments. Yet despite her outward confidence, she admits she's had her fair share of insecurities when it comes to relationships. I used to think maybe I wasn't meant for something big, you know? Like maybe I'd settle for okay instead of amazing. But then he came along, and everything changed. Ethan Carter entered Baylen's life 2 years ago, and from the moment they met, sparks flew. Friends described them as the ultimate power couple, supportive, fun-loving, and deeply connected. They balance each other out perfectly. Baylen's all about emotions and connection, while Ethan's more grounded and practical. Together, they're unstoppable. You can tell how much he loves her just by looking at him. He lights up whenever she walks into the room. Montage of sweet moments between Baylen and Ethan plays. Them dancing in the kitchen, cuddling on the couch, and exploring new places together. But what really sets Ethan apart is his thoughtfulness. Whether it's planning surprise date nights or remembering little details about Baylen's day, he's always going above and beyond to show her how much she means to him. He's my person, there's no doubt about that. But even though I knew we were serious, I never imagined he'd do this. The tone shifts slightly as the narrator explains the behind-the-scenes effort that went into the proposal. Soft piano music plays in the background. For months, Ethan secretly planned every detail of the proposal. From choosing the location to coordinating with friends and family, nothing was left to chance. His goal? To create a moment Baylen would remember forever. Footage shows Ethan sketching ideas, visiting locations, and meeting with vendors. Text overlays highlight key elements of the plan, but pulling off a surprise like this isn't easy. Ethan had to keep Baylen in the dark without raising suspicion, and trust us, that wasn't as simple as it sounds. Honestly, I had no idea. He kept dropping hints about celebrating something, but I figured it was just our anniversary coming up. I had no clue what he was really planning. On the morning of the proposal, Baylen woke up thinking it was just another ordinary day. Little did she know, Ethan had already set his plan in motion. Montage shows Ethan preparing for the day, dressing in a sharp suit, double-checking the ring box, and rehearsing his speech in front of a mirror. You've got this. Just breathe and say what's in your heart. Meanwhile, Baylen gets ready casually, unaware of the whirlwind ahead. She texts Ethan asking about their evening plans, and he replies vaguely, saying only, just wear something nice. Later that afternoon, Ethan picks Baylen up in a rented convertible. They drive along scenic coastal roads, chatting and laughing as if it's any other date night. I remember thinking, wow, this feels extra special. But I still didn't suspect anything major was happening. They arrive at the secluded beach, just as the sun begins to dip below the horizon. Strings of fairy lights twinkle in the trees, and a pathway of rose petals leads to a gazebo decorated with flowers. Ethan takes her hand and leads her down the path. As they reach the gazebo, hidden guests emerge from behind trees and bushes, cheering and clapping. Surrounded by the people who mattered most, Baylen realized this wasn't just a casual outing.